Representative, thank you for joining us. I'm not sure how much you were able to hear of Mr. Zuckerberg there today, but, you know, in general, there is a fine line for all of these companies to walk when it comes to allowing free speech, but also not preventing hate speech and violence and, in some cases, false information from spreading. Where do you stand on Facebook's responsibility?
Well, Courtney, I agree with you that we have to stand for the First Amendment. One of the things that defines American tech companies and that has allowed us to lead the world in innovation is the First Amendment. So we shouldn't have companies censoring speech. At the same time, companies do have a responsibility to make sure that they're removing bots from their platform, to make sure they're removing hate speech or speech that incites violence. These are difficult questions, and frankly, what we need are new schools of ethics, just like we've had schools of ethics in journalism for these new media companies. I think it's an issue that the country is dealing with, and there's not a perfect answer.
Do you think this is something that the companies should do themselves, or is this something that should be regulated?
I think we need both. I mean, if there is speech that is inciting violence or hate speech that is oppressing people of color or minority communities, Facebook and these companies should be taking it down. Congress also needs to set those standards. For example, they need to have disclosure standards for ads. They should be having to disclose who's paying for the ads. And they should have the same standards as broadcast television. You shouldn't be able to run an ad on social media that you can't put on television. So you need sensible regulations. But I don't think, for example, that we should be suspending President Trump from being on Twitter. I disagree with almost everything he tweets out, but we do have a First Amendment, and the President of the United States should be able to express their view. I believe in John Stuart Mill. At the end of the day, you have information out there, and the truth will prevail.
You do bring up a good point. Mark Benioff, who is the CEO of Salesforce, was saying just last night at an event, Facebook should not be allowed to publish ads that are fake, frankly, that if his Time magazine did the same thing, he'd be in a heap of trouble. So you think that's something that Facebook really should be a little tougher on, particularly as it pertains to political ads?
Well, again, I think that the standards for Facebook should be the same as the standards for a magazine or the standards for television. These are new media companies, and they shouldn't be able to publish ads that are libelous or slandering or that would not pass the test of what it would be to advertise on CNBC or NBC.
Let me read you something that Mark Zuckerberg said today in his speech at Georgetown, Congressman. I'll get your reaction to it. And it's much along the lines of what you're discussing now and in part on what Courtney asked you. Quote, given the sensitivity around political ads, I've considered whether we should stop allowing them altogether. From a business perspective, the controversy is certainly not worth a very small part of our business they make up. Do you think that Facebook should have any political ads on the platform at all?
Absolutely they should. I think it would actually probably be a violation of the First Amendment for Facebook to say that they're not going to allow political speech. I mean, they're a huge platform, just like I have the right to protest in a community or stand outside a shopping center and leaflet. Facebook has to allow political discourse. The question is, how are they going to allow it responsibly, and how are they going to make sure they protect the First Amendment while not allowing hate speech or propaganda? These are tough questions, and that's why we need more humanistic thinkers dealing with this. But Facebook can't absolve itself of the responsibility to deal with those hard questions.
Do you think they can legitimately and realistically do both? I mean, it sounds like a good answer, but put it into practice is much more difficult, is it not?
It is, but there's artificial intelligence technology that's going to allow them to review a lot more. And look, other industries have done it. How did television figure it out? How did newspapers figure it out? How did magazines figure it out? They all did it. They had the balance. They don't censor ads. I mean, you would put on my ad or a Republican's ad, but if I put on an ad on CNBC that was outrageous, it wouldn't be allowed. So if other industries can do it, I see no reason that social media companies can't do it. They just need to put more resources and effort into solving these complex issues.
But CNBC or any other television network could easily say, for whatever reason, Congressman, I'm sorry, we're not going to run your political ad. Why shouldn't Facebook have the same power?
They do, but broadcast...
You've suggested that they have to because it's a First Amendment issue.
And CNBC couldn't say we're not going to run political ads, nor could broadcast television. And broadcast television under the FCC is not allowed to censor speech. So broadcast television or CNBC started saying we're going to only run Democratic ads or we're only going to run commercial ads and not political ads. That would be unconstitutional under the court. So what I'm saying is Facebook does have to run ads, but they shouldn't be censoring those ads, and they should have the same regulatory framework that broadcast television or a lot of cable news is governed by.